Hello, I am back and I'm excited to talk a little bit about Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder's director's cut. I am not going to be here to shit talk Zack by any means. I don't really understand all the hate, if I'm going to be honest, that I see online when it comes to his work. And so that's not what I'm going to be doing here today. I'm going to give you a review, honest review of two movies, his original version of his vision for this story. So, as someone who genuinely loves, enjoys Zach's movies, I thought this was probably at a 7 out of 10. So now getting that out of the way, it's much longer. Part one is much longer. Okay, so we're looking at, for part one, we're looking at, I believe it's 3 hours and 24 minutes. I have to look at my screen here because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but 3 hours and 24 minutes for part one and 2 hours and 53 minutes for part two. So I took some time yesterday to watch these movies because I wanted to come on here and talk about them a bit. And I do have my coffee here because I'm still waking up. I love director's cuts. I love watching them. I have no qualms about them. Sometimes I wonder if the studios let the director do their thing initially, if things might pan out a little different for the film. I wouldn't know if that would be the case because I just wouldn't know. Obviously, we started out with the studio's vision of the film in most of these cases, and then the studio lets the director do their cut. So I have no issues with director's cut. I actually enjoy them a lot. And Zack Snyder is not the only director that does director's cut, contrary to popular belief. I know there's a lot of comments out there that says so, but he's not the only one that does it. Does he do it a lot? Yeah, probably. All that to say is it was really long, but I also felt like I got a lot of context to some characters. In particular, the one that comes to mind right now is Eris, played by Sky Yang. And there was a lot of scenes that were cut. I mean, the entire intro is with him and his family and what happens there and how he kind of gets to where we see him in the original part one film. Okay. So that was really cool to see. That was context that I appreciated. There are many instances that happen. We also get a part two at the end, the very end of part two. We get another scene. We get an extended scene of the last scene from part two. So we get an extended scene, and then we get a new scene. That was cool. I don't know how well that sets up the rest of the story, the scene that we saw. To be honest, overall, I thought it was good because I got context. I got some blanks were filled. Now, could I have walked away from this film, these two films, and say, "Yeah, I got what I needed"? Yeah, I probably could have done that, and I did. I did. These two parts, these director's cuts, kind of shines a light on more of the characters, some character story arcs, which I thought was really well done. I'm always gonna say yes to that. Very interesting how they edited part one and two originally, considering what we saw in part one and two of the director's cuts. So overall, I thought it was cool to see some of these blanks filled with some of the characters, no doubt. And so now, is there a trend happening here with how movies are being cut in parts that maybe the studios should look at and see if it's worth doing? And I say this about Rebel Moon. I say this about Horizon. Horizon, an American Saga, is Kevin Costner's film. and it did not do well in the theaters. I believe it's currently available for video on demand. I'm not sure when part two is going to come out. I do know that it is being shown at another film festival, which I thought was cool. And I don't know if this release strategy works for, I think it works for some. Obviously, it worked for Dune. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's something. It's incredibly risky, I think, and I think that a film that can serve as sort of an episodic, because that's really what I felt with Horizon, and maybe even with Rebel Moon, if I'm being honest, that they're more episodic. And could you imagine if we gotten most of the entire story in one season? I think that would have been pretty great, released as an episodic versus films. And so Horizon, I feel the same way about it. Initially, it felt very disjointed, and I think you really had to be paying attention in order for it to not feel that way. I'm just curious to know your thoughts on this release strategy with part one and part two with these films. Curious to know your thoughts on Rebel Moon. Was it worth watching for you? Over 6 hours of your life invested in these two films. And so just curious to know your thoughts. Again, I'm going to say this. I'm not interested in bashing any filmmaker. I think they have an incredibly difficult job. I'm all for constructive criticism, but I'm not here to shit talk any filmmaker, any actor. These people work really hard to entertain us, to tell their story. Some of them are really, really become really, really successful, and some of them do not, for whatever reason. And I think we could all agree that there are actually many films and shows that maybe didn't come up with the numbers, but that were really great. And yeah, this is me signing off, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.